And we can then start. We are almost on time, only 3 minutes past the time of the program. So it's really, really good. Thank you all for keeping the time. And now we have 20 minutes for a roundtable and questions. I would like to start asking first question to somehow try to analyze the main gap that that we are facing here in Spain. So, but before trying to analyze this gap, I would like to ask your opinion about where are we, what's the current situation in Spain regarding not only circular economy, where we've already seen the first speakers of the afternoon, but also other sustainable practices or environmental certifications. And what's your opinion about if the Spanish construction sector is really adapting to these new ways of sustainability? So if any of the speakers of the afternoon would like to answer.
Okay, I will break the ice. I think that if we resume it into two things, I mean, we need culture from people, and also the economical reality. I think we have done well in regarding the culture, because all our schools integrate sustainability as a normal thing in every subject. We have embedded sustainability, and our future professionals see it as a natural thing. And on the other side, the economical situation, not thinking on COVID, because that is another issue, but bit by bit is going better, but it's still a long way to go. I think sustainable certifications are lately quite active and the market is moving, but there is a lot to do. And I think that, as I was saying before, the governments need to imply themselves in all these issues and to make efforts in order to inspire and to try to make the private sector going further there.
Thank you, and Natalia, for giving your overview. You already talked about the different recommendations and the drivers that could somehow help to reach this change towards a more sustainable building. I don't know if any other of the speakers would like to add or say anything else.
Yes, perhaps. I think we are we're going straight now in the way to sustainability, because, as I said at the beginning, for us at least, was always efficiency, building efficiency, and it's the first step, and perhaps the one which has a greater impact in the whole life cycle of the building. But and also because, as I said, it has a final payback for the user. But now with the COVID and this, I think we will have turned our view towards health, not only our health, but also the health of the planet. And although it might seem that this is a temporary fashion or a fad, I think that sustainability this time has come to stay, and that the only possible future is through sustainability. Now we are working in several projects, for instance, made of timber, made with recycled insulation, trying to reduce the emissions of the cement in the concrete. And this was would have been unbelievable just 1 year ago. So I think this time it's going to be the good one to go ahead.
Thank you, Sarah.
Okay.
Can you,
I will just add a little. I think that, like Sarah says, I think in construction we are starting to talk about circular economy. We are starting to talk about recycling materials, and also the administration is starting to make us work a little more. Here in Navarra there is an agenda from 2018 about circular economy, and it means that all of us are starting to read more about this, are starting to see more experience, and I think that we are little by little we are doing things.
Okay, thank you, Marta. Any other comments, Sarah?
I think it's changing, but very slowly. No? Currently, there is some legislation from the Europe that requires for there to be innovation, sustainable consumption, and digitalization, no, within the construction sector, but by 2030. Therefore, there is some funding available to carry out new projects, to develop materials that are part of the circular economy. So I think that in the future, we will see more changes and improvements. But at the moment, I think that the Spanish construction sector is far from being part of the circular economy in some aspects. No, for example, at construction market level, there are certain initiatives, related with waste assessment, and some manufacturers have implemented a life cycle assessment in their products, and this is very important, because the product have an eco label, but however, in general, these materials are not made with that, no, with any recycled products. So I think that the way is wide.
Yes, just to add a little bit on what Sarah said, we have to keep in mind that the SMEs are the majority in the construction sector, so sometimes they prioritize production over innovative training or innovative materials. So I think there's a little bit of work still to do on mentalities in this aspect. People are becoming aware about the health issues also, but yeah, there's still some road to cover in these aspects, more related to awareness and to accepting different materials, and because small businesses are worried about production sometimes more than other things. Yeah.
Thank you for all your comments. So based on all the barriers that you've been focusing during your expertise, which would be like the main recommendations that you somehow would say to other professionals if they want to build a more regenerative or more restorative project, or a project with a circular economy? So, based on your expertise, what would you recommend?
Okay, I will start. First of all, I would recommend to check the prices of the materials, because we still have a great difference. They are more expensive in general, the sustainable materials. Concrete is about 3 times cheaper than wood, for instance. So you have to be very good in calculating your structure, for instance, to be able to introduce wood in it. And the same applies to a lot of insulation materials. You have to keep in your mind a very deep knowledge of the properties of each material to be able to apply that one, which even if it is a little bit more expensive, it can be recycled, or it can be, it doesn't come from fuel, for instance. And also I have a personal trouble with environmental certifications. Well, I am certified in 2 of them, so I hope nobody is listening. But the real problem is that why do you have to pay to someone to certify that you are sustainable? It's a right every human being has to get the more sustainable things, and not to pay double. First, pay the materials and then pay the certification. For me, this is a big problem when you are going to build a small house or a small building and say, no, you pay twice to be sustainable. Nobody wants to pay that much. And I'm hopeful about some European new tools like levels. I suppose you have heard about it. It measures the sustainability performance of buildings throughout the full life cycle. And so you can compare yourself with everyone in Europe, not just that certification for Spain or for UK or for whatever, and it's for free. So I think this is going to help. When these tools are spread, it will be easier to build sustainable, because you will know by yourself if you are really being sustainable or not. And when you can measure something, it becomes real.
Thank you, Sara. Any other comment from the other speakers? Any other recommendations?
Well, I agree with Sara, and just to add up, also as a recommendation for the person who is considering to introducing strategies, is to look about the long term. Just, okay, you are going to invest maybe more in some issues, insulation or efficient systems, but at the end of the day, your consumptions and everything will be. So looking into the life cycle of the building may help. On the rest, I agree.
Thank you, Natalia. Any other comments?
Yeah. I also agree with Sara and Natalia, that I think that also the administration should maybe incentivize a little more these themes, these ideas. So like that, I think you can arrive to more people and to more things.
Well,
that's all.
Thank you, Marta. Well, I think we have a couple of minutes more. Maybe we can answer some of the questions provided by, written on the chat. But before, just to wrap up a bit of what we discussed, I think you all agree that we still have a long way, to make this change possible in all your different ways. And I've highlighted some words that you all, I think, used. You talked about government implication, you talked about legislation, you also talked about cultural and education, which are the main factors that will help somehow make this change towards different buildings, more sustainable buildings, more restorative and regenerative buildings. So thank you for your presentations, for your time. Maybe we have time for one more question. There are some questions on chat. I think there was one question for Natalia, but it has already been answered during the chat. Natalia, you already answered. There was another question for both Carla and Marta about your organization, because it was somehow unique in Europe. I don't know if you know any other type of organization similar to yours in Europe.
Yes, he talks about Casa Edile. There's a Formedil also. Is similar. Yeah, it's an organization, a paritarian organization. Yeah, focused on training also.
Okay, and there are other two questions. One for Marta, which regarding that you talked about mainly about concrete, and if there is any other trend in Spain to substitute this concrete by other lightweight materials, or adopting different design strategies to reduce the mass or the weight of the buildings, and therefore the waste. I don't know if you can quickly answer.
Yeah, I think there are some studies here in Spain and also in France. I think they are also doing a lot of work with this. But now we are not working exactly in that, so I cannot answer very clear. But I know, yes, there are different people working in this. Yes.
And thank you, Marta. And the last question for Sara Velázquez. It's how spread is natural ventilation in offices, schools, etc., buildings in Spain. We typically think to solve every EAQ issue with mechanical ventilation, but it is really always needed. This is another question.
It is mandatory in buildings now, but it wasn't in the recent past. So there are a lot of buildings, schools mainly, without mechanical ventilation. And I think it is needed because at least in northern Spain, we have a climate with 6 months of heating demand. So mechanical ventilation with heating recovery is necessary. Of course, if natural ventilation is also needed for the summer and for the in-between, and we always project both of them.
Thank you, Sara. And I think there are no questions, so thank you very much.